Let's trace some Java code. We have a main method, so we begin executing there, and we see the system out print statement, so we begin with that line of code itself. And the parameter 4 is passed down to the formal parameter num. So num is equal to 4 in the body of this method here named factorial. The local variable I is initialized to 1. Same for the local variable product. And we encounter a for loop. The first time through the for loop, we set I equal to 1 here. It already is 1, but I'll emphasize that fact. We check to make sure I is less than or equal to num, true or false. 1 is less than or equal to 4. So we execute this assignment statement, working from right to left, product times I. In other words, 1 times 1. That result is 1, so the assignment statement works from right to left. That 1 is stored or assigned into the variable product, and it's still 1, but I emphasize that fact. We hit the closing curly brace of the for loop, which means we loop back up to the top of the for loop. We come in from the right side on this second iteration, therefore I++, and we check to make sure I is less than or equal to num. 2 is indeed less than or equal to 4, so we go through the loop again. Product times I, 1 times 2 is 2. Therefore, the 2 is assigned into the variable product. We loop back up to the top of the for loop. We I++. We check the control expression. 3 is less than or equal to 4. So we go through the loop again. Product times I is 6. So a 6 is assigned into the variable product. We hit the curly brace, we loop back up, we I++ again. We check to see if I is less than or equal to num. It is equal to num, so we go through the loop again. Product times I is 24. So a 24 is assigned into the variable product. We hit the curly brace, therefore we loop back up to the top of the for loop. We I++. We check the control expression. Is I less than or equal to num? It is not. False. 5 is not less than or equal to 4. So we do not go through the loop again. And we drop down past the body of the for loop. And we execute the line of code that's left, the only line of code left in the method factorial. Return product. So the value 24 is returned. And it's returned back up to the point of the function call, which was right here. So all of this acts like there was simply the number 24 was in the parentheses of the system out print statement. So on your output display, the number 24 would print out because of that line of code. Next line of code. We're calling the function weird with add 5 parentheses 3 in its parentheses. We must work from inside the parentheses out. This is simply a function call inside of a function call. So we need to first begin with add 5 parentheses 3. Notice that the function add 5 is down here, and the value 3 is passed down as a parameter, and it plugs in for num. And this is a simple function a simple method to evaluate. The num plus 5 is first added. 3 plus 5 is 8, of course, and therefore an 8 is returned back up to the calling method. So where is the 8 exactly plugging in? It's plugging in for that function call right there. So that is really an 8. And now we have to execute weird parentheses 8. In other words, we're passing the number 8 to the method weird. So we must scroll down further to find that method weird. the value 8 is being passed there. Okay, so here's the function weird. As we saw from above, the value 8 is being passed into the parameter num, and we check the if statement. Is 8 greater than 0? Yes, it is. So we return 10. This method ends at that point. It never reaches the return 3 line of code in this situation because num was greater than 0. We didn't need an else. It never hits an else. It hits the return 10, and the 10, the value 10, returns back up to the calling method. So that 10, we see, that 10 plugs in for the weird function call, and this system out print statement prints out the value 10. Of course, we had a 24 printed out from the line before, and because of the ln here, those two pieces of output are on separate lines of your output window. Checking the rest of these tricky call statements, let's do this one right here. Let's execute system out print max 12 max 932. Another situation where we have a function being called and the return value is actually a parameter in another function call. So 9, 3, and 2 are the arguments. They are the parameters that are being passed to the function max. Okay, I'll scroll down and I'll plug in the 9, 3, 2 in that order. The parameters line up in a one-to-one correspondence. Java just knows how to do that. So 9, 3, 2 are the values that plug in for x, y, and z respectively. And this is simply a matter of executing an if-else-if statement. If x greater than y, yes, that part is true. We have a little t for true. Now we check the right-hand side of this AND expression. Is x greater than z? Yes, 9 is greater than 2, so that's a true. And since a true ANDed with a true is an overall true, we do return x, and therefore the number 9 is passed up. Stay out, and the number 9 is passed back up to the calling method. So the value 9 is plugged in here. And you simply know that the max value of 9, 3, and 2 is 9, but we didn't necessarily trust that the method worked correctly, so now it's good to know that the number 9 plugs in there. And we now have to execute the function max again, but this time the values 1, 2, and 9 are passed down to the function. Well, we can trust that the function will return a 9 in this situation, but let's check to make sure. Values 1, 2, and 9 are being passed down this time. The values 1, 2, and 9. Here we go. The values 1, 2, and 9. 1, 2, and 9. In this situation, this first if statement is false. And this if statement control expression, the else if, is false as well, because y is not greater than z, and one false makes an AND expression overall false. So the code doesn't, neither return x nor return y are executed, and Java reaches the return z statement because it's the only other line of code left in this method, and so therefore 9 is returned back up to the method that called this. And therefore the value 9 is printed out by this system out print statement.